So a bit about me. I'm Robyn Kaczmarek, and I was an aged care worker, and I was divorced, and so I needed a flexible job, which is a lot of the workforce I think out there, very similar pathway. And so I did my aged care certificate 3, and then went into the workforce agency work and was just pretty much disgusted with what was out there. I only worked in aged care and I only worked in community. I didn't work in residential because I didn't want to, and I didn't go into disability because my interest was aged care. And just the lack of person-centred care, the lack of ability for these people to be heard, the lack of the support staff to be able to, or the care workers to be able to make a difference in these people's lives when they could see what was happening. Then I went and worked privately, and I saw pretty much a lot of abuse happening to the support workers in those private environments from family. I mean, there's a lot of dysfunctional families out there. I think you have to be pretty strong in some of the cases. You see a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't normally see, and you go back home and you think, gee, my life is quite normal, you know, which is what's happened to me. So, and I didn't think there was an organisation that really supported those care workers, and that's where I came from. So I thought, okay, well, I can do a better job, as we all do. I'm going to start at case management. So I started case management, and then that was for private users, service users, and a user pay system. And then I needed to have more staff. So I needed to think, how am I going to do this? So I started looking overseas at what was happening, a bit like Yumi, going, what are they doing overseas? What's working? And I came up with Guy's parent model, Sunderland Homecare Associates, a worker-owned cooperative, and where it came from the Bronx, which was the Associates, Home Care Associates, which was started because there was a need two needs. One was to employ the mainly African American women in a position, in a job. They needed to be educated and get off the dole, I suppose it was, and they had an ageing population that needed to be looked after, so they paired the two together, and they're now got, 3,000, 4,000 people that are now working in as a worker-owned cooperative. So I started having a look around at both of those things, and then I just put a call out to anybody that I knew in the aged care industry, because I said we started in aged care, and I got 5 interested people, and we sat around my kitchen table for about a year and a half, once a month, and discussed what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. But that's what we came up with. So, and I say that we're the third way, and this is probably the cooperative movement sort of saying, is because there's not-for-profits, there's for-profits, and then there's member-owned organisations. So some of the other member-owned organisations are called mutuals, and you might have heard of them, NRMA, HCF, the Co-op Bookshop. These are all similar organisations to ours, and they're member-owned organisations. We registered as Australian Independent Living Enterprise Cooperative Limited, but that got too big, so we decided we would be called trading name Cooperative Homecare. We registered in June 2013 with the Department of Fair Trade. We're a not-for-profit, and we're a registered charity, which is a bit odd as a cooperative. And the reason we did that was because at the time, to be in aged care, to be a approved provider, you needed to be a not-for-profit. So it's a bit at odds to the cooperative where you profit share, so we're still sort of struggling what to do with that. But okay, so again, started in 2012, no funding. We still don't have any funding, we're just a user pays. We started with 5 aged care workers, so we did the business plan, registration, started trading in 2013 with not $1, and we got our employees by doing a training to careers program where we attracted anybody that wanted to be in aged care, and we got funding at that time from the registered training organisation. They paid for their training, and we did a lot of the other work to instill our values and what we were as a worker-owned cooperative. And a lot of those workers are still with us today. We started with about 40 when we culled down, and we actually graduated with 14. And we've got about half of those are still working with us today. So that's a way that you can retain staff, is by instilling your values, really involving them in training and care, and having them as part of your business. So Today we've still got no funding, and we're very much looking forward to NDIS and to aged care, where individual choice comes into thing. We've got 20 staff, 3 of them are now full-time, and we have 17 casuals. Saying that, our casuals, after they've been with us for a year, they get a week's holiday pay. We're looking at doing some, how we're going to integrate sick leave into that, if we can have that. And this is all paid for by the profits of the cooperative. There are also salary packaging, so we've got all these benefits, and this is what the cooperative does for the reason why you want to become a member of our cooperative. So are we a high performance business? I suppose definition-wise, we build our core values and purpose into everything, and we have a working culture which is that we're employee owned. So I think that we are, and we're heading along that pathway. I suppose if you looked at our bank balance, it probably wouldn't be so high performance, but there's always hope, isn't there? So I suppose the first thing is that if you want to go down this pathway, you've got to have a certain skill set, I suppose. Well, there has to be a leader of that guides it. And I think we've seen this in all the presentations. There's been somebody at the top that's sort of filtering down the ideas, and it's with the involvement of the other people, but there's sort of somebody who's the captain of the ship, so to say, and I think that's the same with any cooperative entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of difficulties that you face, and you've got to have somebody that drives it really. And they may not have the right ideas, but they get their co-workers and everybody to put the ideas in so that they can then form a cohesive organisation and business plan. So these are some of the sort of characteristics. I just think you have to be tenacious and a bit stubborn. I think that's what it comes down to, and probably read a lot and have a look at what's happening over there and try to gather what other things are doing and where it would fit in and how that would work for you. So what do we do? So we started off as a worker-owned cooperative, and we looked at the models that were happening overseas. But then somebody introduced me to the Bertzog model, and I thought that was a really good way for us to be a worker-owned cooperative, and also because somebody made the comment to me that how do you really become a worker-owned cooperative without a hierarchical structure with the boss at the top, coming down and filtering down to people. And there's sort of a bit of a dilemma of being a leader that is introducing something, but then the workers truly own the business. And so I was in a bit of a dilemma about that, because I probably thought, yes, that's right, because hierarchy can slip into every organisation, and then people don't get the empowerment and the ownership that they have from owning the business. So I when I heard about the Bertzog model, I read about that and thought that was a really good way to share the ownership. And so we started to develop the idea probably in about September last year. So I remember we only started trading in October 2013, and we decided that we would start to develop these care crews. And we have care crews, and we say 10 is a number that's the maximum allowed in a team. So again, similar to the Bertzog, and they are self-managed teams. They're all Certificate 3, so disability and aged care. And we thought that was great, just go off, become your self-managed. We gave them some conflict resolution, we gave them some advice process, and then what happens? Conflict. So, I don't know, probably a month into it. And so we're like, okay, well, this is not very good, is it, And hierarchy come in. So we had nurses that were involved in it, or not nurses, but had been working in residential aged care facilities. So had a hierarchical structure in their system, and they just wanted to shout and yell at people that this is what you do. And I'm like, no, you've got to, advice process, So there's people that suit this and there's people that don't, I suppose, is what it comes down to. And we now have a really strong recruitment, induction and orientation process and then an intensive training process where we sort of eliminate those people that are not going to suit this type of job, because not everybody suits being non-hierarchical, self-managed. And we needed to figure out how to do that. I think the training at the beginning is really important, and I think this is where you come down to your, instilling your cause, instilling your values. And what we've also done is try to figure out cheap ways to get these messages across, and that's using the internet and the technologies of software that are out there today. So even though we're not a funded service, we were able to access all the tools for NDIS. So I looked at unit cost and I thought, okay, this seems a pretty good thing. Let's try to figure ours out. And thankfully, we didn't have any money to begin with, so we've never had any money, so we've always been lean. And part of that, I think, is why when I looked at the ACT figures, we can provide care with profit, 5% profit with that, with no problem at all. Our admin is really low. We have three full-timers in our office. We have that control the 20 staff, and we probably don't want to look at increasing that for quite a while yet. We have subcontracted IT person that comes in one day a week, and that's about it. Then we've just got our care staff that do their own work in their own areas. So I think being lean is really, really important. I think our unit cost of care is coming in at about $34 an hour for personal care, or for all services actually. So I think that's pretty good, even if we do, we can move a bit as well. And I think the other thing that you need is to have systems in place. So we've found systems that work so that we can talk to our whole organisation, because they're all remote. They don't have offices that you can have things in. So I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. Looking at how we do this, we looked at having, as I said, the recruitment, the orientation and the training were really important for instilling the culture into the business, and the core values and what we're on about, that we're employee owned. What does that mean to be employee owned? I mean, for us, it means that they get higher wages, that they get to have a say in how the business is run. They get salary sacrificing, they get holiday pay. These are all the benefits of why they want to become involved with us. And we find that with that, people get buy-in because they say, oh, that actually looks like quite a good, deal that I'm getting. And that's where we have our retention rates, which are quite high. But we have to educate everybody in that, because they don't understand what employee-owned is, and they don't understand what our organisation has done. And what we've found is a lot of people have been burnt in the other organisations, and they don't trust us when they come in. So we've got to do a whole trust building exercise with them so that they think, oh, we're different, we're going to treat them differently. So the things that we sort of concentrate on to get these teams aligned is that we hire fewer people, but we pay them more. We give recognition widely and we show appreciation. We set clear goals and expectations of all of our members, and we give them a clear line of sight. So this has got to do with your critical numbers that Guy was talking about. We all know where we're heading. We all know what the goal is. We don't demotivate, and we de-hassle, and we keep things simple as possible, and we help people to play to their strengths. So every person that comes into our organisation has to go through DISC profiling. They have to go through about 3 interview processes, and then they get the training, and then if they pass all that, then they can get a job with us. But a lot of people say goodbye. We say fine. We really need these people to be dedicated and on board. Everybody in the organisation there's training is trained on revenue, expenses, new participant acquisition, so sales, current participants' satisfaction, so everybody's doing feedback, employee retention, so all the employees are being asked what their satisfaction rates are. They're all being asked to do market awareness to promote our brand, and they're all doing service quality. And how we do all of that is through our weekly huddles. We don't want to call them meetings because they're huddles. So we have a lot of huddles, a lot of huddling happening, and we do that remotely. So we use GoToMeeting, HIP, or whatever, so whatever's available that's cheap. And when we run out of one GoToMeeting, we use somebody else's GoToMeeting, so it's all free, so we never have to buy a subscription. So everybody's responsible for sales, marketing, service development, customer satisfaction, all in various degrees. So they got to understand that if they come on board, that's what they're going to be doing. And great teams don't hold back with one another. They admit their mistakes, their weaknesses and their concerns without fear of reprisal. So we have to try to get this level of honesty and level of commitment into them. And so how do we do that? We started with a coach. We had a coach who came in and did that, and we've recorded that, and now everybody gets this infiltrated into their system. So first of all, we do personal histories. Who are you? Where did you come from? How many brothers and sisters did you have? What were your goals? What did you want to do? So everybody gets to see the person, it's not just a member. They do DISC profiling, so we try to get a selection of people within that, or within each team of 10, so that they've got their weaknesses and they've got their strengths that can all be covered. Then we look at their status and their ego. And we try to make it a collective ego, not an individual ego. And that's, I think, one of the things that people get stuck on. They think, but I'm in this for recognition or money or whatever, you know. But we've got to think of as a group. So how are we going to get this organisation to think of as a group? So it means we have group results. So they've all got to focus on group results, not individual, because the teamwork is greater than what any one individual can do. And they've got two critical numbers that they have to look at. We've got one, a people-oriented one, and one, a theme-oriented one. And the people one is usually one of our core values. This one's commitment, so they're usually 90 days that they run for. So we've got five things that they have to do, so we see who's, displaying the best commitment. The critical theme the critical theme that we have is usually related to money coming in, and ours is hours of service, and each care crew will be about 200 hours per week be a fully functioning care crew, 200 hours per week. And at the moment, we've got 4 care crews that are about 100 care hours a week, so we're trying to get them up to the fully functioning 200. So again, it's that needle on the radar to see, like what guy was having the dashboards. Where are we? Who's going to nudge the needle that way a bit? And if they do, they get rewarded. And if we reach that target, everyone gets rewarded. So they've got a real incentive. And it's a theme, and so our number is 100 for one of the teams. So we've got the theme that we're introducing is the 100 greatest hits. And we're counting down. So when we get new clients coming in or new hours coming in, it's like that's down, that's down, that's down. And each time we'll change the theme so that it sort of has engagement. And then I think at the end they'll get a T-shirt. You've got to think cost effective, So, okay. So as I said, you need to think of results as a team, not as an individual. And then to recognise it, that's, the recognition is the most important thing. And it might not be a money recognition, it's just a personal recognition. The other thing which we found is that people have a lot of fear of conflict. They go, oh no, I don't want to make a conflict, So they avoid it, and you have this false happiness, that everybody's probably been in a team. They know that it's all dysfunctional, but they won't say anything. So we encourage conflict. And how we do that is we've also got an intranet chatting room. And if somebody raises something, they say, I'm really sorry to bring this up, but, the dishes weren't washed properly. And I reward them and I say, well, how else are we meant to improve if you don't mention it? So these little simple things that, the other thing, and I sort of remind everybody that we may be really good at some things, like personal care we're great at. Domestic assistance, putting the bins out, we hate it. We always forget. So we can't be perfect in everything. We've got to look at where our weaknesses are and try to build them up. And we've got a policy, it's all right to make mistakes. So everybody believes that we can make mistakes, but it's not okay to lie, because then it covers things and we don't know. So everybody's told this regularly. It's, in our weekly meetings, our monthly meetings, our huddles, our quarterly meetings, everybody's reinforced with these things. The other thing is the lack of commitment. And we find that if you work through 1 to 3, you usually get a buy-in. And when you've got a buy-in, you've got staff that stay, and they then want to do that added thing for you. And so for us, the added thing is because it's their own business, because they're a member, they own the business as well, because everybody gets one share, and so we all equally own the business. If they promote our business, then we can get more clients coming in, and then we'll be able to get more money coming in, and then we can share around those benefits. And they all get a decision on how we're going to share the benefits. Is it going to be higher pay? Is it going to be business development? Of course, we have to retain some of it, but what we do with that share that we can, distribute is decided by the people. People don't like to be accountable either. Somebody else did it, they usually say. So that's where you having your themes and your goals is really good because you can make people accountable. And we've got a system, an intranet software system called Align, and we've got our dashboards and everything on that because we're remote. So we've got a headquarters in Sydney in the city, and everybody else is out in the suburbs. So we have everybody can log on and see once a week where we are. So our dashboard is online, so everybody can see where that needle is. They can also see and be reminded of the core values, and also that they're accountable. Everybody set tasks and they have to then complete them, and if they don't complete them, we say why. So they're being watched, but they make their own tasks, so they know they've got to complete them. So where are we today? So as I said, we break down everything into 90 days, which is an achievable goal. So our plan is, our forecast, which I love that term, for the next financial year is that we'll have fully functioning care crews in the southwest Sydney, west of Sydney, inner west, eastern suburbs and the north, so they'll be all at 200 hours per week. And we'll also have 3 part functioning care crews in Ryde, Sutherland and Bankstown. And how we do that is we sort of have, once we have one at 100, we can start another care crew somewhere else where there's a need or a client or somebody or participants, so that we can start to replicate the system and start to move out. And our big, hairy, audacious goal, we've all got big, hairy, audacious goals, is that we want to have a care crew in every LGA in Australia. So I think I looked up and there was 565, so 25 years you'll see us there. Cultural immersion is really important. The small steps, sort of creating things. The huddles are really important. So we have daily huddles, we have weekly huddles, and we have quarterly huddles. The theme's really important, the dashboards are really important, and then also is important is tracking everything. So tracking all of the information, all the feedback that you get from customers, all the feedback that you get from your clients, talking to them directly, talking to your customers and talking to their family directly to see how you can improve. And we've also got the 3 questions. What do we want to get rid of? What do we want to keep? What do we want to start? 3 easy questions that you can ask anybody, and it gives you pretty much all your feedback that you need. We ask that of our staff, and we ask that of all of the people that we serve and their family members, and we keep all that and document it. And then that gives us our rates of client satisfaction as well as, or customer satisfaction as well as staff satisfaction. And of course, we keep all of our referrals and how many hours we're doing of how much money we've got in the bank. We also have a board, I better mention. And the board's made up of the care workers. So we've got an advisor, that's about it. But after 6-month probation, you can get to be a member and join the cooperative, and then you can become on the board if you want to. And the systems, I'll just quickly tell you, we use Deputy for payroll and because these are important things. So it's $5 a user, it's really cheap. Live Chat, which is our blog system. Align is our dashboard system, which is our core values. And everybody has to get used to having CRMs. Do you know what those are? Client management systems for sales.